All right, today we're looking at how to integrate Google Sheets with Pointagram using Zapier. So the first thing we're doing is to add a point to Pointagram with a Google spreadsheet. Looking at the Google spreadsheet, you will see that we have score series ID, which could be a appointment ID or a deal ID. And also we have external ID, which is a unique identifier for a player. And that, it's very useful to have that sometimes when a player email is not available. And as well, we have a name and we also have the points. So let's head into Zapier and create a Zap. The first thing we will do is to add a Google spreadsheet. And note, the connectors to Google and Pointagram is not taught in this video. You just have to go through the process yourself. And press on Google Sheets and then select your trigger. And the trigger we're going to use today is new or updated spreadsheet row. And then it's going to ask, all right, what Google account are you looking at? And the next step is to look at the right spreadsheet. And when you selected your spreadsheet, you need to look at what worksheet and test the trigger. And the trigger will give you some sample data from your Google Sheet. And then select Pointagram as an app event. And select an action event. You would think you would add points, but since I have several players within the same Excel sheet, I would first like to look up a player. And if a player does not exist, I would like to create a player. So I would select find player. Press on continue and select my Pointagram account. And then I would add a search by email. So the Google spreadsheet had an email address. So I would look for that email within Pointagram to give me a value. I could use the external ID as a unique identifier, but in this case, I'll just use an email. So what I would do is select email and then in the search value, add the email from the Google spreadsheet. And now it will look up the email address. And if that player does not exist, we can add a check mark on the create Pointagram player if it doesn't exist and add some values to it. This is good when a player has never scored before and you'll just add that player automatically. So adding a player name, adding an email, and adding the external ID as well. And you want to send invites. Usually you don't want to send invites when you're trying out integrations, but maybe when you're up and running, you would like to set that to yes, and then they will get a link automatically sent to them. It depends on your user case. Now press continue. Testing continues here. And let's wait for it to happen first. And I will press on back to setup and press on Pointagram again. Now I would select add points and continue. And of course, I would have to select my Pointagram account again and press continue. And now I could select the score series that are available within our account. So I would select points in this case. And then I would select a player ID. You can see here the players are listed, but this is only if I want to add points to a specific player. What I want to do is add a custom value instead. that looks at the spreadsheet and tells me who's that specific player is by the lookup find search step 2 function that we added. So press on custom and press on number 2, and then press on player ID. And when you're done, select the score that you wish to add. And the score is actually the column points, of course. And then if you would like to, you could add a unique identifier for that score. And the unique identifier is, of course, like an deal ID, appointment ID, task ID, and such. Because if it would change, Pointagram is able to change that value as well. Now test and continue. Awesome, a point is created. Zapier test 2 was created and he scored 4 points. Awesome, that's it for this tutorial.